it on pole. And I was like, okay, baby.
And they're only going to see him as a black man.
I'm not surprised that Lewis came third. That's the thing.
I meet him next week and I'm just shaking from now.
Penalty watch for Magnussen until we see some results.
Welcome back to Wheelie Up. I am Simone.
Hey everyone, I'm Chanise.
Hey guys, it's Anita.
And this week we have a special guest with us, Laila. And Laila is, when I went through the list of things that Laila does, I felt hella stupid. That's all I'm going to say. She is one of the motorsport scholars on Mission 44. She's doing her master's in, is it aerospace design?
Yeah, aerospace vehicle design, yeah.
Okay, and she's on a placement with AMG Mercedes F1 team for her thesis. And in September of this year, she'll be joining Mercedes AMG as a mechanical engineer. So, boy, oh boy, do I feel stupid because I can't.
Oh, please don't. Thank you so much for the introduction. Really long one.
Yeah, I just wanted to list your credentials and what you do. You're originally from Spain, but I know your background is African. What African heritage are you?
So my parents were both born in Morocco. So my mom is Amazigh, and then from my dad's side, they Tuareg. So they have 2 generations ago came from Niger.
Okay. Lovely, lovely. I love the mix of heritages. Let's get straight into it. We had the Spanish Grand Prix, which is obviously in your home, in Barcelona this weekend. Who watched it, first of all? Who watched Quali? Who watched Grand Prix?
No, I was across quali and the race. I didn't watch the practices.
You know.
Yeah. I don't know why I was. I think the weather was really good. So I just got carried away.
The sun was out this weekend. So, that is a good excuse not to baby watch it. But I watched Quali, and I was very impressed by Lando. I really was. Man stuck it on pole. And I was like, okay, baby, what do we have here? He actually put it on pole, which was good. I was happy that Max wasn't up the top. I was happy to see Lewis in third. I was like, oh my God. I was a bit skeptical, I'm not gonna lie. I was thinking, can it be done? But it was done. And George came fourth, which was great. But yeah, to see Lewis third, I was happy. And you said you watched a little bit of it.
Yeah, do you know what? Right. Okay. I'm not surprised that Lewis came third. That's the thing. Because again, I think in Canada, it was much more of a shock when he didn't come top 3 like George. I think George got pole in Canada, didn't he?
Yeah. It's because of practice. Practice that weekend was really good for them.
Yeah, right. And throughout the weekend, Lewis was, first, second, third, and you just kept seeing him going back to back in purple sectors, right? And this time around, I was thinking the exact same thing was happening. Lewis Hamilton, he just seemed like he was on ball, and then obviously, it just felt like it can't happen multiple times in a row. So I thought, yeah, this is the time where Lewis is definitely gonna at least hit that top 3. And what makes me a little bit happy and excited is that Mercedes have a car that can finally, and I say this term loosely,
don't say challenge.
Compete. They can finally compete. So we're not in the era when we were thinking, oh, is Mercedes even gonna make it to Q3? Comfortably, I sat there thinking, oh yeah, we're definitely making it to Q3. And that was the highlight for me. I was a bit worried about Ferrari. Sorry, Chanise, but I know you got a soft spot for Ferrari, but I was a bit worried about them because they just seem to lack a lot of performance in their car. I don't know what's going on with them.
That's what I was about to say. It's great that you feel like that Mercedes can finally compete. However, it's too late. Lewis is leaving and he's going to Ferrari. What the hell are we going to do now? Do you know what I mean? It's great that Mercedes are halfway through the season and feel like they can get some points, but actually we needed this last year, so Lewis was going to stay with them. Now he might be moving to a car that isn't up to the performance.
But do you think, girls, that he would have stayed in Mercedes regardless if the car was better?
I think he needs to go. Okay.
I think if he had a chance of winning his 8th world championship, he would stay put. But at the time of all these decision making, I don't think the car was up to it. So you have to kind of think, okay, fine, well, I better move somewhere and make it somewhere iconic or historical,
Yeah.
So I just feel like it's too late for Mercedes to start doing really well now.
But is it too late or is it just the right time? So obviously we love Lewis Hamilton, right? I'm sure Laila, you're Lewis Hamilton.
I'm gonna meet him next week, and I'm just
Oh,
shaking from now.
When she said this to me in a voice note, I was like, I'm not even going to address that. I just left it alone. I just left it alone.
I feel like we can end the podcast here if I'm being honest with you.
I mean,
Like, you
got
go
wedding.
Hamilton, Sir Lewis. Okay, we'll come back to it. We'll come back to it.
You know what I mean?
As Lewis Hamilton fans, I feel like well, I'm looking at it like, oh, so now you want to get a better car, whatever. But I'm still thinking about the next change in the regulations in 2026. How is that going to fare up? Because if the rumors are true, Adrian Newey's going to Ferrari, etc. A Ferrari, Lewis Hamilton, and Adrian Newey link up might be a match made in heaven. You see, no matter what Mercedes can do, it might just be too much for everybody else on the grid. Who knows?
But something that Ferrari have always struggled with has been the power unit. I don't know if you remember the changes of the regulations. The power unit is not their strongest side when it comes to the car. And so far, it seems like the Mercedes engine is the most promising one. So it's the one that's going to be placed also with the McLaren and in the Williams car. I think it's great that they're going to get Adrian Newey in there as well. But if they can't fix their issues with the power unit, that will still be a big issue.
True.
Especially with such a big change within the power unit.
Did you watch quali on the weekend?
As soon as the screen went on, it was the moment that Lando was crossing the line and went P1. And I just started screaming and everyone was looking at me like, what's wrong with that woman?
I love that. No, but the thing is, like when Lando put it on P1, I screamed as well. But I was in my room. I wasn't in public. But I screamed as well because that one I wasn't expecting. I wasn't expecting Lando to put it on P1. I thought it was gonna be another Max Verstappen pole. Lando probably comes second. I thought Piastri will be up there as well, but I don't know. I think his final lap was a bit shaky, and I think he went off at turn 7 or something. He went off a little bit. And his lap was just not great. But I didn't think that Lando would put it on pole. And we're gonna come to the race, but I really, really thought that he could convert it to a win. But boy. Boy,
Lordy.
every time I have hope for this man, he just brings me back down. Lando, stop doing this to me.
Well, you know what? He did come through in Miami, which was great. Okay, but speaking of obviously race day, let's get into it and let's take a lap.
It's time to take a lap.
Because the race didn't deliver what I thought it was going to deliver, okay? Just like Anita said, I thought this was going to deliver. I thought he was going to convert the pole into a win, which would have been great.
Mm-hmm.
But you see that start was awful. And you see that George Russell? I was like, oh my God. George.
I was not expecting that. I don't know about you girls. I don't know when Russell appeared, but he suddenly just was there.
I was like, George.
On the front.
George was behind Lewis. So I was like, what on earth happened for you to do all of that, overtake all these cars and lead the race?
Lewis had a really bad start. So Lewis and Lando, their starts were really, really bad. So I've got like
I think they were sleeping.
They were sleeping. Like literally, when the lights went out, I was looking at reaction times. Max was on job as per usual, like as always. And George, I'm looking at George like, where did you come from? So he took over Lewis instantly, and obviously he had a toe as well. And with that toe, he broke loose from the toe, and then he overtook everybody. It came from nowhere. He went around the outside, and I was thinking, Jesus Christ, how badly do you want this?
It was beautiful.
It was beautiful.
Do you know when I've seen that kind of overtake before? Do you know where I've seen that? When I was playing F1 24, my PlayStation. That's when I've seen that overtake. It was so fake. Like I can't remember a driver doing that at the start of a race. I can't remember that happening.
No, I've not. The thing is, I've not seen it, and I didn't expect it from George. Okay, that's not the thing that I would expect from you. Like George was so switched on at the start of the race. He was like, "I'm overtaking all of y'all." Like for you to just bypass Lewis, bypass Lando, bypass Max. I was like, you were actually in 4th place. Damn.
And even Max didn't even expect it, to be honest.
I think he
Max
shot
was busy covering off with Lando. He was like, Lando was trying to push Max off.
to the side.
He's trying to come back onto the racetrack. And then George was like, thank you. All right, bye. And you see Lewis, I'm sure Lewis was baffled, as baffled as we were, because what the hell? And then the Ferraris behind them as well were just squabbling. It was just a chaotic mess, right?
Chanise, do you watch?
Yeah. No, I did, and it's funny. I was just reading my notes because I remember saying like George takeover, wow. But then I went into Max overtaking, and it made me think some drivers, and I think this is George, are just too predictable. So the fact is, yeah, that was great that George at the start came in, zoom, it was amazing. We were all like, oh my god, yes, George, we're finally rooting for him. And then the fact that Max just came back like that, I was just like, and even I don't know if it was Crofty, somebody was on the mic saying basically, oh well, Max just guessed where he was going to go, so it was an easy takeover type thing. And I was like, yeah, you can't be that predictable. Like, if you're going to be competing with the big dogs, you can't be predictable and you can't bottle it. And at the moment, this is what I'm getting from George. Like, he needs to stay confident and he needs to stay like dynamic. So I was loving it. As you guys know, I'm always sticking up for George and I love George, but it really annoyed me then when Max took over again, because I was just like, no, George, what are you doing? What are you doing?
I think he had an early break or something like that, or a lockup on his wheels when Max overtook, right?
I don't remember seeing it, but I definitely knew that Max. I definitely knew that George wouldn't be able to sustain that. I think we've seen enough from George to know that you're not going to sustain this.
I think he tried to dummy Max a little bit. So he tried to dummy Max and it just didn't work out.
And
So
Max,
he went over to cover him off on the inside. And then
Yeah.
Max was like, okay, well,
Exactly.
go around the outside.
Exactly. And Max is a good enough driver to be able to do stuff like that.
It's sad because I actually feel like George is a good enough driver to not try and move like that. Like I thought George, honestly, I really thought George is a smart enough driver to know that, okay, you can cover him off on the inside, but how do you react after that? So when he had the overtake with Lewis, so when Lewis overtook George, it was pretty much the exact same thing again. So it's kind of like, okay, what do you do after that point? You already know that covering off on the inside is not going to work out. How do you now defend on the like Crofty says it, the old switcheroo? How do you...
Oh my god, they were talking about that as well, saying some people don't like the term switcheroo.
I love it.
it's so cute though.
I like switcheroo.
I love it.
Laila, were there any like points in that race that stood out to you, apart from obviously the beginning, which we were all amazed at?
I feel like after lap 33, not much happened afterwards. I don't know if you guys agree.
It's actually quite dead. Like there's nothing really happening.
Yeah. So for me, just that moment where he swapped back from George to Max, I knew they was going to stay like that, and then the gap just kept on increasing. So I was expecting more from Barcelona, and I was expecting some team strategies in there, but I don't know. I feel a bit disappointed by this race.
Do you know
That's a good point. They mentioned that actually. I was just looking for moments where I think they were talking about if Mercedes worked better as a team. I'm sure it was the Mercedes group they were talking about. If they work better as a team, they might actually be able to make it work for them. But I think they weren't like working as a team. They might be able to like, cut up Lando and basically go ahead. I'm sure it was Mercedes they were talking about. But yeah, I agree. Like I feel like the teams weren't thinking of they were just thinking of number one and not thinking like as a collective. Which is interesting because we've spoke on here before about like Magnussen. As much as he's getting all these penalties and whatever, he's always like thinking of the team. Do you know what I mean? He's taking these penalties for the team. But I feel like actually some drivers need to do a bit more of that.
I said not take penalties, definitely.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah.
But you know what? I feel like with regarding like strategies and stuff, I think McLaren, their strategy stuck out to me the most because I think what they were trying to do was hit Max with an overcut or undercut. I always get them mixed up. Satin cut, right?
Undercut, I think.
They're trying to undercut him.
Yeah.
The pits.
Yeah.
Sure. Whichever one it is. Sure. Yeah. All right. Undercut with Max, right? And I thought it was really interesting because they left Lando out for about, I think, 3 laps after Max had come in. And it kind of didn't make sense to me, like why they left him out for so long. And obviously he breezed through everybody else who was on older tires. So he breezed through Hamilton, Sainz, Russell, but obviously he still had a little battle with Russell anyway, but he breezed through them, but he was still significantly behind Max. He kept closing the gap, but I felt was 3 laps, 1 lap too many before he had to come in and change his tires. You know what I mean? Like I think they overcomplicated it a little bit, McLaren did. And ultimately, that's how McLaren lost out on that first place because they were faster than the Red Bull the entire weekend. They were faster during the race as well. So it's kind of like.
I think maybe they were hoping for a safety car as well in the
Mm,
strategy that they were trying to have from the McLaren team. Maybe I'm wrong. That's just the feeling that I got from it.
McLaren are always trying to bet on these safety cars, but you really just can't bet on a safety car. And it's interesting what you were saying, Anita, about you think that that's why they lost, like, you know, and didn't get first place essentially. But in the post-race interview, it sounded to me like Lando was blaming his terrible start, you know, rather than actually that strategy. And when he was like, oh, you know, I'm gutted about being second, it was just really interesting because he was like, look, at the end of the day, I just had a terrible start and that's that. I'm thinking, a terrible start? That was 66 laps ago. What the hell was supposed to be happening in between there that's going to get you and keep you on pole? So yeah.
But that's the thing about Barcelona, right? If there's no yellow flags, there's no safety cars, and obviously you can have like really great overtakes there, but ultimately being in fresh, clean air is what's gonna get you that advantage, and that's what got Max the advantage. And that's why every time Lando got that first position back, they kept saying on the radio, this is the time now. Even when Verstappen got back to first, they said, okay, this is our time now. When Leclerc was in first, this is our time now because they're in clean air. And it's like, they were still the faster car. They were still the faster car. So the start did fumble him. But if we had a great start and everything and came second, I'll be like, okay. But I blame the strategy. I don't blame the start solely. I blame the strategy.
I agree with you, Anita.
It will be.
Yeah, he lost a lot of time behind George Russell. And I think, the strategy with the tyres didn't play off as well as McLaren had hoped. And at this point with the safety car, I think another team that were hoping for a safety car was Haas, because they even came on the radio and they said like, oh, not that we wish anything bad for anyone, but we were hoping for a safety car. And I was like, that shouldn't be your hope. Not be trying to hope for a safety car.
Are you not embarrassed?
Like, how can you say that? Like, I was laughing out loud because I was like, that's not what you actually should be thinking. You should be having a good strategy, and you should be just put in the working. And even Karoon said, like, it's all down to you on the weekend, basically. Like, you have to put in all the working. You shouldn't be thinking of all the external elements that could go wrong to help you get positions, because we're hoping for a safety car. Nothing happened.
But to pick up on that point, Simone, you were like, you know, that's not what they should be thinking, but it's also not what they should be saying publicly on the mic where everyone can hear them. I'm like,
not even Logan Sargent delivered this weekend. He didn't do anything wrong. Like, he didn't do anything. Like, so it's like, come on, you can't be hoping for a safety car just to help you out.
And telling people that, because that feels weird.
But Barcelona hasn't had a safety car in a couple of years, apparently. Like, they actually haven't had like a yellow flag or a safety car, I think, since Lewis Hamilton fucked up in like 2022. They haven't had one. So last year, is that wrong? Is that a wrong stat? I don't know. I feel like I heard that stat that last year.
You're right. I don't remember one being last year. So
yeah,
I don't know.
okay.
No, but I was there in 2022. Was there a yellow flag? Because Lewis was at the back and he worked his way up. He had a
why did Lewis get to the back though? Did he
Exactly, there must have been a safety.
There was definitely a yellow
We
flag,
even spoke about.
Was it?
Yeah, we spoke about
was something, and it had something to do with, it might have been Alex Albon, because I remember him at the back and all the fans around me were like cheering, Lewis is at the back. Here's me, my Lewis top. Did
you see Lewis after the quali when he was like, this is the most support I've had in Spain, and he looked so shocked? He was like,
Listen, the atmosphere in Spain for Lewis Hamilton is not nice. I wanted the ground to swallow me up. I was there in my Hamilton top, in my Mercedes top, and they were all like like booing and cheering for like Max and for Carlos and Fernando. And I was like, oh my God, I really should not be here.
That's
But
what I
to
was
be
going to say,
honest,
though. They have their own drivers that they're cheering for. Do you know what I mean? People who represent their country. And sometimes that goes more than however many world championships you've got. And that's okay. Not every country, will support Lewis.
Laila, what were you going to say?
yeah, to be honest with you, I mean, especially having grown up in Spain, I think a lot of that stands from a racist perspective.
No.
Racism is still a big thing in Spain, which is trying to be kind of covered. But I feel like a lot of people still have strong feelings. I still experience it myself. And I still hear a lot of racist comments towards Lewis, especially taking into account that past history with Alonso. There's a lot of racism that came from there, and is still there within the fans. So I think it's a combination of those two: the racism within society, and not seeing him as worthy of being in F1, plus the rivalry between him and Alonso back in the day.
That's really interesting, but especially when you said about like him not being worthy of being in F1, do you think that the fact that he's won so many championships and things doesn't sway people, or doesn't make them think, oh, you know what, actually, credit where credit's due, he's a good driver?
But at the end, they're only going to see him as a black man. That's the thing.
Yeah.
They do not care about anything else. He's a black man. I don't care what you won.
Doesn't matter how much. That's the thing that's one of the main things why I ended up leaving Spain, not only to get in F1, but also I knew how, regardless of how much I've done in my life, I'm always going to be a foreigner for them. I'm always going to be that person of color to them. So it doesn't matter how much Lewis does. I feel like sadly, as things are, they only see him as the black man.
We had no incidents in this race, like we said, like nothing really happened. Like everyone actually finished the race. There was nothing from Kevin Magnussen. There was nothing from Logan Sargent.
Hold up. I remember making a note of Magnussen having a 5-second penalty because of a false start. So obviously there was no like safety car or anything, but I made a note that happened, and I wanted to quickly bring that up because I wanted to ask, will this affect like his like not allowed to get any more penalties type thing?
Penalty watch. It's penalty watch for Kevin.
Yeah, I'm like, hang on a minute, ain't you supposed to be like one penalty away and not being here? Are you still here, or what's going on with that?
You want him out of F1 by all means, Chanise. You want him out of this sport.
She's become the George Russell, like,
excuse me, teacher, should he, miss?
I see you sending an email to the FIA.
FIA, did you clock that? It was just after lap 13, or maybe on lap 13. And then he had to wait like 5 seconds in the for his next pit or something, like when he was in the pit. I
don't think that will affect his give him points on his license.
But that's what I was asking, just to confirm, is that something that would go against him in this thing?
I mean, I don't know the FIA rule book back to front, but I don't think that him serving the second penalty on track is going to go towards his points for his license. Okay, I think he's good.
Denise wants him.
I will continue on penalty watch for Magnussen until we see some results.
Hulkenberg got a 5-second penalty as well for speeding in the pit lane. And you know what? I look at Haas right now and think, well, Gunter's gone, so who are you going to blame now?
Right?
Exactly.
I wonder who.
He wasn't the problem.
He was never the problem.
He was the only thing holding that team together.
I miss Gunter being on the sport, man.
He was
good entertainment. He was good.
Like, Drive to Survive is not going to be the same. Like,
and he also held the spirit within the team.
Right.
He believed. He was the only one believing.
I'm happy he got that. You remember when Magnussen got pole a couple seasons ago? And they celebrated like crazy. And he only got pole because it started raining or some shit.
But he got it.
He got it. I'm so happy Gunter got to experience that. Bless him.
Again, like we were talking about earlier, these are those things that they shouldn't be relying on to get them results. You shouldn't be relying on safety cars, yellow flags and rain and wind,
What has done to you? What has done to you?
Okay, well, Gunther's not there anymore, so I have no reason to support them.
Fair enough. All right.
Oh, Chanise, what is happening over at Ferrari, please? We were meant to be preparing for a beautiful transition into 2025 for when Sir Lewis goes over there. But this is not looking very good, and the harmony within that team with Charles and Carlos is not looking very good either. Like, they were not the best of friends on the weekend. Chanise?
No. And the thing that hurts me is what we were saying earlier, and I can't remember if we were recording at this point, but it's like it's too late for Mercedes to be doing well now because Lewis is going over to Ferrari where they're not performing or even performing as a team. You know, their pit stops still aren't the best pit stops, and I mean, did you hear when Charlotte Leclerc was on the radio saying, "Why are we on plan A?" But like, isn't plan A where it should be at? Do you know what I mean? Shouldn't you be strategizing so well that actually, right, guys, plan A is working sweet? Do you know what I mean? I know they have different code words for different strategies and stuff. I know, I get it. But the point is that these guys are always on G and H, and I feel like they just need to get better. What?
I'm sorry, you said normally they're on G and H. Like that, working their way down the alphabet.
And when he was questioning plan A, I'm thinking, no, this is where you need to be. You should be on the plan one, number one. But I know that we have said that I think Lewis and Charlotte will hopefully work better as a team. But considering they started like 5th and 6th, as in Leclerc and Sainz, and there was a few other teams where they started like next to each other, I saw a lot better like communication. And even though nobody's strategy was on point, I saw a lot better communication in other teams. So Ferrari need to sort it out, man. I'm really worried about Lewis's move to Ferrari. I know it's a celebration, no, it's iconic, whatever, but I'm really worried. I think he should have gone to McLaren. I know there's no space, but I really think he should have gone to McLaren.
I really thought if Lewis was ever going to leave Mercedes, it was to go back home and finish his career there. And
exactly.
I don't know about you girls. My dream was to see Lando learning from Lewis and taking over his legacy.
Laila, I like you. I like you.
The Ferrari move was so unexpected.
It was unexpected.
Praying. And you know what? When Oscar went to McLaren, I fell to my knees. I was just thinking, oh, that's it then. That's it. Lewis isn't coming back home. That's it. Oh God, sorry. You were saying, my bad.
Right though, both of you are absolutely right. This is it. Saying this exact thing, Laila, to somebody the day where they were like, "Oh, well, where could Lewis have gone?" Or blah blah blah. No, it's where he should have gone, where he should be back home. Winning up a 10th this weekend was the fastest car, and Lewis in that car could be a thing, could work wonders. Lewis in a Ferrari could work wonders, but if the team aren't backing it, if the strategies aren't backing it, he ain't gonna do it. It's a team effort. It can't be on the driver too.
And the thing is that we know that the power unit for Mercedes has been the one dominating the whole hybrid era since it started. And him going to McLaren would have ensured that he would have kept that power unit in his car. Yeah. Whilst going to Ferrari, we know that that's not their strongest point. So I feel like that would have been probably a wiser move to do.
I mean, if you just look at the performances from McLaren this season compared to the performances of Ferrari, like, come on, like McLaren, since once they had their upgrades, they were absolutely flying. Like the power unit in there, fantastic. Like they've got something over there. With Ferrari, though, I do think that the Leclerc and the Carlos Sainz thing is that the rift between those two is just it's like a marriage that is just broken down. They're definitely getting divorced. We can see you're getting divorced, and it's just like this pairing. I don't know. They're always arguing about who's gonna do the switcheroo, like who's taking which place. You're always doing this. You're playing it out on track, and it just doesn't look good. It's like, what is happening here? I think.
Can you blame them? Can you really blame Carlos Sainz for being a bit of a dick? Can you blame him?
No, because they're letting him go and they're replacing him with Lewis. So obviously, I get Carlos's situation, but and also the way he acted this weekend with Lewis as well. I was like, whoa, Carlos, calm down now.
Apparently, I don't know if this happened. I didn't see this happen, but apparently Carlos damaged Leclerc's wing earlier on in the race.
I didn't see that either, but I saw him and Lewis touch. So that was the only damage that could have happened. But I did not see Leclerc and Carlos. So I might have missed that.
You make sure I'm talking about the right thing. Just real quick. We're going to VAR back.
While I need researching that, one thing I will say is we already know they're getting a divorce. You know, that was announced in January. Public
From them.
worse. But public divorces, they're the worst. Those celebrity divorces, they're the worst. It's all eyes on them. And that's why I wouldn't say that we're being hypercritical, but that's why we notice when there's a rift. We notice when they're arguing. We notice when there's an issue. All I'm saying is public divorces are the worst. And, you know, it's difficult. It must be really hard in the camp over there.
But it's not even a direct divorce. It's like someone telling you, okay, in 11 months' time, I'm gonna divorce you. Meantime, let's keep coexisting together. So it's really strange. Normally, you would expect this type of announcements to come after the summer break.
Exactly.
I thought it was someone. They know they're divorcing, but they still trying to
coexist.
that's not happening.
Girl, I've got the tea. So apparently there was a pre-race agreement between Carlos Sainz and Charles Leclerc that was broken during the race anyway, right? So parking that aside, at the beginning of the race, apparently, according to Charles Leclerc, Carlos Sainz damaged Charles Leclerc's wing, and Charles Leclerc was pissed throughout the race because of that. So after the race, Charles Leclerc said, I know it's his home race. He probably wanted to do something spectacular, but ultimately it cost the team. And then Carlos Sainz said, well, we had a plan at the start of the race. We were meant to attack. We're on fresh sauce. I don't know what Charles Leclerc was doing. This is where we're at. This is the divorce that we're talking about. They're trying to put these two together during the divorce. It's not going to work.
Yeah, and now these two are going tit for tat at each other on petty shit because this is what happens in the divorce, but it's public.
Yeah.
And did you guys realize that Carlos Sainz was ahead of Charles Leclerc, and then all of a sudden Leclerc finished above Sainz?
Yeah.
Did you guys notice that?
Yeah.
Something fishy is going.
They asked him, "Can you switch?" And then because they even in the post-race interview, Carlos Sainz asked, "Oh, were you asked to switch?" And Carlos like, "Yeah, we had to switch." But Laila, I was going to ask you, as someone that's in the motorsport world, like, what would you probably suggest that Ferrari could do better or different?
Oh, I feel like since the change of team principles, the team is still not finding itself because it comes from a very chaotic few years before Fruit came into the team and took over. I think Ferrari probably needs a reconstruction of the whole strategy team. I think that would be the first point I would look into. The strategies are not working. As Chanise was saying earlier, you cannot be relying on safety cars. They just seem to go on weekends without doing the prep work. I think that's the first thing I would do. And sort their power units. They need to do something with that. Like, how many years have we been in this regulation? Almost 4 now, 3? And they seem to still not do it. I still remember when there was in the same race not long ago, 2 did not finish from both because their power units just vanished. So I think Ferrari, being a very traditional team, they need to look deeply into those roots and start making changes because something is not working in there. I think they come from the confidence of we are Ferrari, but I think the name is not going to keep them surviving on the sport anymore, especially when we have teams that they want to enter.
Absolutely.
Word.
The nail is on the head.
And you know what's so funny? I can still remember 2022 Charles Leclerc just crashing out randomly. And he's like, no. I was like, and you felt the pain.
Yeah. Especially races he actually should have won, but Max won. And it's like, you should have been learning from these mistakes.
2022, if Max wasn't going to win that championship, it should have been Charles. And you can't blame Charles for that season. You blame Ferrari and only Ferrari. Not Charles. Charles had nothing to do with it. It was Xavi and them, man, in the background.
2 things
I'm happy Xavi's no longer his engineer. Thank God.
2 things I do want to raise in the race. Can someone tell me what happened to Perez?
Oh my God, right?
Where did he even finish?
I was clocking this. I think he finished. Hang on, actually, I will double check. Did you say 15?
8th.
15.
Oh, 8th. I was going to say it wasn't 15. Oh, yeah.
8th or 9th.
Yeah, no, it was 8th.
He
Yeah.
started, yeah, he finished he finished 8th. And there was a lot of talk about this on the weekend that he doesn't really bring it, as in like for a second driver to Max, what is happening here? Because yeah, you could, I mean, Max can win the Constructors' Championship all by himself, absolutely. But as a second driver, especially someone who has just renewed their contract with Red Bull, I'm not seeing any improvement, any change, nothing. It's just very much like you go missing. If they don't mention his name, I completely forget about him.
I mean,
Remember, oh, sorry, no, you go, Laila.
sorry, no, you go.
I was just gonna say, remember, there's a clause in that contract though to be like, oh, we're looking at other options too. It's not like it is we're renewing it with you, but actually, if there's other options, we can kind of part ways. Sorry, Laila, you go.
Yeah, I wanted to say, Simone, I have to disagree with you in this. I don't think Max can anymore win the Constructors' Championship by himself, because the other teams are starting to catch up, especially McLaren. They're a big threat for Red Bull right now. Red Bull I think they actually have admitted that they're having trouble with the car right now and with finding more updates. And I think they're also limited on the amount of time that they can spend on the wind tunnel at this point. So, and having Perez performing like that, I mean, he didn't even make it to Q3 for ages. So I don't think at this point Max can carry the whole team on his shoulders. And they need, I don't know, I was not expecting them to renew his contract. I think he can still win the Drivers' Championship, but I think this year McLaren might take the constructors one from them.
Yeah. I when I heard about Perez renewing his contract, I was just thinking it's a move to make sure that Max is happy, because Max's contract was up in the air. Mercedes were allegedly looking at him, and Mercedes, they have a great talk, and we spoke about their engine being the most consistent and being the engine that looks like they're going to probably have the best engine in 2026 anyway. And those kind of things can lure Max away. So what do? Instead of bringing in a Carlos Sainz to challenge him, instead of bringing in somebody else to come in and challenge him, you keep him happy, keep Perez there in his second space spot, and see what happens going forward from there. So yeah.
And Perez has been also the driver that they can just tell him what to do and he's not gonna second guess it or take when was it? I think 2 races ago, he literally broke the rules by taking an unsafe car back to the pits, so a safe car would not come out. So that's the type of driver that Perez is, and that's why they want him. That's the only reason I can understand for them renewing his contract.
I remember that one season where he stepped out of line and then they were like, nope.
When he said, I want to challenge to win the championship.
He said, I can challenge Max. They said, nope. And I don't care what no one says. In that season, they shut his power down.
Yeah, there was some active sabotage in there. I'm telling you, it was insane.
There was some sabotage. No one can tell me nothing. He was winning street races back to back. Azerbaijan, Saudi. He was winning.
They were very close on points as well.
Until he opened his mouth. Said, I want to win. They were like, hold on a second, that's not why you're here.
They downed his power all the way down and said, stay in your lane. Don't.
On that note, though, this is where I feel like it comes to those conspiracy theories. We added in a segment especially for this, and I feel like that is one of the biggest conspiracy theories in F1 is what happened to Perez and his engine and his power and his points.
We will never know.
And that's the thing with hybrid power units. You can play with the amount of energy brought from the electric side of the hybrid engine. So I'm just saying.
Hey.
It didn't come from here, but it came from here.
All I'm saying is, remember all last season when I was saying it, and the season before I was saying it. Now.
Yeah, but it was evident. I think everyone saw that. You got to be blind not to see what's happening here. And I also think it will play into his confidence of him not being able to, perform as best as he can. But there are other conspiracies obviously happening within F1. Anita, care to share?
Hey, this may or may not be true. This is all alleged information. None of it came from anybody in this chat right now. Yeah, so do not hold anybody accountable for what I'm about to dish. So here's the team. I think we've been talking about this for a couple of weeks now about the supposed sabotage on Lewis Hamilton in Mercedes. And again, I say supposed, alleged very clearly so that everybody can understand where I'm coming from. Okay, so it seems that reports have been leaked from the Mercedes camp that Lewis Hamilton has in fact been the subject of sabotage within the team. These last couple of races have shown Lewis obviously consistently being 2 tenths behind George Russell with qualifying. And it just got a bit fishy to me in Canada, because in Canada, that was when I started to believe the conspiracies, because I couldn't fathom Lewis getting P1, P2, P3 throughout all of the practices, and then it comes to quali. And before quali, I tweeted, I said, if Lewis gets 2 tenths behind George Russell, I will believe the conspiracy theories. And what happened? 2 tenths behind George Russell. It just didn't make any sense. So news has been leaked to journalists. No one's actually said what the news was, because, you know, everyone has to, or had they, Simone? I don't think so.
No, sorry, what did you say? No one actually said.
No one actually knows what the news is yet. Only the journalists do, but they're not leaking it yet.
Yeah, so apparently it's come from the same source that leaked the Christian Horner apparently, and it's gone to the same journalists that had that in the first place previously.
Yeah. And that journalist hasn't said anything, apparently, hasn't said anything that has come from that source, because everybody wants to verify things, right? As a journalist, you just have to verify things before you actually put things out there. But ever since that has happened, all of a sudden, Lewis Hamilton is faster than George in qualifying. And even if you are a casual Formula One watcher, you do not expect George Russell to be 8-1 up on qualifying against an 8-time world champion. You don't expect that to happen from somebody who has never won a championship before, somebody who's only just got into a car that is able to compete. So take from that what you will. If you believe the conspiracies, let us know. If you don't believe the conspiracies, also let us know. If you think I'm chatting rubbish, let me know. I'm gonna beat your ass, but let me know. But all I'm gonna say is something fishy is happening, but hopefully order has been restored. That's all I'm saying. By the way, all alleged information. It didn't come from anybody in here. I'm just making sure you know that.
Well,
What I find though interesting about that, Anita, is that even if the sources are or aren't true or whatever, there's a conspiracy, whatever, it shows that other people are thinking about it. It's not necessarily like you here on the pod or us discussing it, whatever. It's like people are actually trying to find out, is something going on over there? Hence, journalists getting details and finding things out. So, watch this.
I think it was an interesting timing of the email, interesting timing because of what unfolded on the weekend. I think they got Lewis's strategy right. It was great for him to be on the softs at the end. I think well done for him, because like him coming third, oh my God, back on a podium. I was like, oh, God.
Since Mexico.
It's been
so happy, bless him.
It's been so long, like so long.
And you know it's real when Lando and Max, did you watch how they sprayed the shit out of Lewis with the champagne? Like, his face was drenched in champagne. And normally Lewis runs away from it, right? He would be running away, be like, oh no, stop. He stood there and he took it like a champ. He said, yeah, bring me the champagne, put it all on my head. And he was just drenched, and it was lovely to watch. And even in the post race conference, when Lando, Max, and Lewis were sitting together, Lewis was lying down on the couch.
Oh, yeah.
He was smiling. They were all fussing. He even posted a selfie of them three, and I was like, he's back.
I think that's the sparkle that Lewis needed back on him. I think Saudi has left a lot of scars on him, and obviously recovering from something like that, especially with everything that he's been through his career, but then having that, okay, things seem to be against me again, and things seem to be put in place for me to not to get to that 8th. I think that psychologically would be really challenging for everyone. And I feel like this is bringing back that spark, that passion that he has for the sport. So hopefully we can see some wins soon now that he has that drive in him. And maybe I was the only delusional, but I thought he was going to win the race. Didn't happen this time. But I'm going to still think in every race that he's going to win. Don't get me wrong.
I'm
Team
gonna predict it.
Delulu.
I'm gonna predict it for Silverstone. I'm gonna predict something for Silverstone from Lewis.
Are you guys going to Silverstone?
No.
The thing is, right, I've got plans to be there. I don't know how I'm gonna be there, but I've got plans to be there. So,
Well, let me know if you're there. We can catch a spot.
oh,
and
you
catch
going?
Lewis
Are
together.
you
Yeah.
going? Are you going later?
Yeah.
So, I mean, you could you sneak us in like a suitcase or something?
I don't have that sort of power yet, girls. I promise you when I do, I'll bring you.
Please.
Should have stayed at home.
Right, who are your guys should have stayed at home? Laila, I'll let you go first. So, as I've mentioned, this is our segment where we choose a driver or team that we think should have stayed at home. Basically, we don't think you should have come to the track or come to the race because there was no point. So,
Logan
you can get one
Sargent.
or any team. Pardon?
I feel like Sargent should have stayed home.
And why? Why do you think that?
I mean, did he not finish P20? Like, nothing happened with him. And like, I think Chanise was saying it earlier, not even a safety car. Like,
He
that's good.
He didn't even crash.
It's a
Perhaps-
good crash.
Yeah, perhaps a little crash would have been something that he could have brought into the table.
Spicy.
Exactly. I just feel like it would have not made a difference if he was or wasn't in that race.
Okay. Chanise?
My should have stayed at home was one up from that. It was actually Yuki Tsunoda. Another for the exact same reasons really as Logan Sargent. He was finished P19, and I was rooting for him this week. I was thinking, oh, I'm really looking forward to seeing Yuki race. I'm looking forward to see what he's going to bring. And I just didn't get, like, at the end of the day, it was quite a smooth race. Not really much happened. So I feel like he could have fought a bit more on that. Like, I've seen him do a lot better in a lot worse conditions. So I just wondered where he at. Like, what happened to you? What this could have been a race where you were pushing. But it made me think, I wonder if something else was going on. Like, I don't know, with his car or with him. I don't know. But it just didn't seem right for me. So I'm saying Yuki Tsunoda.
Mine's Perez.
Hmm?
Mine's Perez. And I'm choosing Perez simply because I just feel like I didn't really see you. I genuinely did not see you.
Do you know what I saw Perez, like, do you know the leaderboard when it starts like changing position and stuff like that? Like I saw that. I not once did a camera pan to him, so I get it. Mine is actually, and it pains me to do this. It does. Valtteri Bottas.
Interesting.
Why does it pain you? I don't get it.
You know, I've got a soft spot for Valtteri. Like, like James is Valtteri, or Valtteri is James. You know what I mean? Like,
I've heard you cuss Bottas before. So
yeah,
when
but
did this soft spot develop?
when he left Mercedes and stopped sabotaging my hero, yeah, when he left, that's when the soft spot came back. All right, but yeah, I think he outqualified Joe, but for some reason he finished behind Joe. How did we get there? And for the last couple of races, I've just been thinking, what is your use to Formula One right now? When we talk about the spaces that need to be filled up by the youth, by people like Behrman, by people like, what's that guy's name? The one from RB.
Liam Lawson? I don't know if he's
Liam Lawson.
Yeah. I still can't believe that he's not in F1 yet.
Right.
Someone's got to want him.
And it's because spaces are being taken up by the likes of Valtteri Bottas, Logan Sargent, Lance Stroll, all of these people. And it's like K-Mag, shout out to Chanise, K-Mag, Hulkenberg, even though I like Hulkenberg, seems like such a sound guy, but enough is enough, right? And Valtteri, for another week running, has just let me down. And it's just like, bro, you out-qualify your teammate week in, week out, but how does your teammate end up finishing the race ahead of you? Make it make sense to me. But yeah, get him gone.
Sorry,
Yeah.
sorry, I have got another should have stayed home, and it's Daniel Ricciardo. And
Where was that man? Oh, Lord.
I forgot that he was back in F1.
Right. Mr. Honey Badger. Do you know what? Again, Daniel Ricciardo should have stayed at home. Lance Stroll, you could have stayed at home too. Valtteri Bottas, you should have stayed at home. Logan Sargent, you didn't even crash for us this time around. You should have stayed at home. There's just so many of them that should have stayed at home, and they should have locked the door, throw the keys away. Honestly, I'm tired of seeing them in F1. It's enough.
Does anyone hear Miss Latifi?
Yeah. Yeah.
What a
I
question!
miss him.
We actually
Last
said,
season especially.
I'm sure we said this a couple of weeks ago. I'm sure we did. We were like, even, yeah, we need Nicholas TV. Like, he's giving,
God.
yeah.
I miss him. I miss him so much. Bring him back. The GOAT.
Denise, who was your star boy?
Okay, so you guys are gonna actually kill me, right? My star boy was gonna be Lewis, and I still represent Lewis. This is his time. So, okay,
Oh, you
fine.
did it, yeah.
I don't know
Okay,
what to keep. Basically, I had Lewis last time. Lewis was my star boy last time, so I didn't know whether I needed to give it to something else. I wanted it to be Lewis this time. I was like, he was my star boy last time, and this time he did even better than last time. Actually, this time he was on a podium. He got that champagne spray. He did really well. So I was like, oh well, if it can't be Lewis because he was my star boy last week. I know I cussed you out, Anita. I know I cussed you out. But my star boy
Max Verstappen
is going Max Verstappen.
You see, when Max is actually racing and has to use his brain and actually has to do some overtakes, when he's actually racing, he is a good racer. He's a good driver when he actually has to race without the pressure of Lewis Hamilton. Okay.
without putting a car on someone's head. But anyhow,
When it's Lewis now, it's a different story. Do you remember that time when Lewis was right behind him? Was it Hungary last year when Lewis was actually catching up? And Lewis was on pole, but then he bombed it. Was it no?
No, it was hungry.
But do you not remember there was a race where Lewis was right behind him catching up, and then what's it called? His engineer was like, "Oh, Lewis is this many seconds behind you." He was like, "I know," and do you not remember? And he bugged
No,
out.
I remember the moment, but I don't remember the exact race.
If it's hungry, and my brain, yeah, photographic memory, mate. If it's hungry, but
Anita has an amazing memory, and I have a terrible memory, so I just go on to usually just believe her and trust in her. Probably was hungry, to be honest. But man, it had to be Max. He worked really hard. And he didn't even have the fastest car. Do you know what I mean? This weekend, technically, like everyone was saying McLaren was the fastest car. He didn't even have the fastest car. He had to work pretty hard this week. So I am going to give it to Max.
Off as well. I agree.
Layla, who was your star boy?
I don't think there was like a star this weekend for some reason.
Okay.
Like, I don't think anyone outstanded there. But if I had to say someone, I would say Lewis, just because of the fact that he ended up in podium, and because of like the whole celebration and seeing that spark back in him. But I think on the track, I don't know, I missed a star. I really did.
I hear what you mean. It wasn't like the most entertaining race. It wasn't like, was it Canada?
Yeah. And there wasn't any big fights or any big performances from any of the drivers. Max, I have to disagree with you, Chanise. He took P1 very quickly, and then he just stayed like that for the entire rest of the race, which Max knows how to do properly, just drive by himself on laps. So, yeah.
Lewis is mine as well. I think he had a great weekend, and I'm glad that things worked out for him at the end. I'm glad he was on the right tires toward the end, and it was good to see him on the podium again, just to give him that bit of confidence that he needs, and to just, you know, we've got a triple head of races now, so, you know, thick and fast they come in, you know. So I was happy to see that for him, and just to see him smile like that again, and just be like, you know, he's happy. I was like, oh, look at Luke. It's actually like, you can tell like, how much this meant to him, even though he was, yeah, he's third. He was genuinely happy. Not be on the podium for so long, and because he's a winner, honestly, it meant so much. And yeah, he was yours.
Yeah, I'm going for Lewis as well. Sorry, Chanise, but yeah. Yeah.
That's totally fine. I mean, mine was Lewis last time, and I gave all the reasons as to why he would have been mine this time. I'm just going for Max because to choose somebody different, because everybody has chosen Lewis today on the pod. So
Yeah, no, I get you. I feel like I'm the same with when it comes to Max. Like when I can give Max his flowers, I always give him his flowers. And he did have to put his head down, and he did have to kind of keep momentum, because at the end of the day, Lando finished just 2 seconds behind Max after, I think it was 11, after being 11 seconds behind him to begin with. So it was a big effort from Max, but ultimately Lewis Hamilton got podium. So every time Lewis gets podium, he's my star boy. It is what it is. No hard feelings.
Our next race is Austria. I can't say I'm overly looking forward to Austria, but I don't know, I think it could be a predictable one for Max. Guys, what do you think? Do you think it's going to be any surprises? Who do you think is going to surprise us or come out on top in Austria?
Not that they're gonna come out on top, but I think Williams might have a good race in Austria. If it's the right track that I'm thinking about, Austria is like the one that goes like, right? Like, no, I play too much F1, man.
What did you just do the drawing again?
They've got a long straight at the bottom.
Yeah.
It goes up to another straight, but then it has the little like wiggly corners, then it goes back down to another straight. I'm doing such a bad job at explaining this. Should I share my screen? No, I'm joking. But I think if it's the track I'm thinking about, I think Williams in a straight line, they really do excel. So I do expect them, or at least Alex Albon to get to Q2, Q3, hopefully, and maybe a Haas probably with their straight line speed as well. But yeah, other than that, I do think it's going to be another track where McLaren and Red Bull dominate and just go toe to toe with it. It just depends on how Ferrari come. Are Ferrari bringing upgrades? I think they are, no?
I haven't heard that they are.
I don't think there's an announcement so far.
It may well be at Silverstone or something. I think it may well be at Silverstone. Laila, do you have anything that you think is going to happen in Austria?
I think Austria top 3 is going to look very similar to the one in Spain. I don't know if it's going to be the same drivers. I mean, obviously, if it's from Red Bull, it's going to be Max. I don't expect Perez to be there. But I think there's going to be a McLaren and a Mercedes on the top 3. And I don't know. I have a feeling maybe Lando would win the second.
Okay.
that's interesting that you like name the cars that are in the top 3, but then also can't name who the drivers might be. Oh, Anita's currently pulling up a drawing or the actual track of Austria. And can you describe this to people who are listening to us?
So there are 3 long straights, like I said, right. The little squiggly line there. The little squiggly corner, the little dips, right? You got dips into another shorter straight. And I think that's where the difference is going to be. So they've got what, 1, 2, 3 DRS zones, which is insane. It's insane. So who thrives best on DRS? I Williams, McLaren, Red Bull. I expect them to have really good races.
Laila, you are actually going to be at Silverstone. So before you leave us, what are your predictions for Silverstone, as you will be there? And we hope to be there, but I just want to get your predictions for that.
I think we're going to have a British driver win.
Oh!
It will be either Lewis or Lando. I don't think it's going to be George. I don't know. I'm delusional sometimes, but that's what my heart is telling me.
Here, listen.
My brain.
Right.
At this time of the day, my brain locks off, so that comes from the heart. So yeah, I think Ferrari will probably be fighting for top 3. I think at Silverstone, lots of the teams are bringing upgrades, so have them there.
If anything, I hope Lewis first, Lando second, and maybe George third, just to complete the British trifecta. You know?
I'll take Carlos Sainz third.
Oh, I'll take Charles Leclerc third, man. Fuck Sainz. I'm over him.
You have some beef with Carlos.
You know what it is? I always just want more for him. And every time I want more for him, he disappoints me. He's disappointed me one too many times. That's what it is, Laila. He's just disappointed me too many times. That's it.
And I also feel like one of the Red Bulls might not finish in Silverstone.
Hopefully it's Max.
And I feel like it's not going to be Perez.
Oh, so are you predicting a DNF?
Yeah, I think it's going to be an intense one. As I said, there's going to be a lot of upgrades brought by the teams. And we know that Max is not the best performing under pressure with other drivers fighting. So, I don't know. Maybe he doesn't finish.
I hope.
It. You
Imagine if it's Lando that DNFs him.
That would be.
Oh, the team.
British driver on a British track just DNFing you.
And it's your best friend?
These are big predictions, and I really hope all of this happens because I feel like I'm going to be for Austria and need Silverstone to bring me back around.
Oh my God, if this happens, we have to come back with a glass of wine on the Monday and just piss that entire race because
and Laila will need to come back too because we'll be like, whoa, what you said came true, this is mad.
You're going to have to give us some lottery numbers after that too.
Please and thank you. But guys, that is it for the end of the podcast. We've had fun talking about the Spanish Grand Prix. As I said, we've got Austria next, which we think could be another predictable one. But you know, I'm very looking forward to Silverstone. That is the one I am looking forward to watching. I think it's going to be exciting.
I think it's going to rain as well.
Oh, don't say that. Oh. Well, rain is good for some people. Okay. Yeah. That's true. Rain is good for some people on track. Rain is not good when you're trying to commute and walk them down and like, I don't want it to rain. But if it benefits certain people, I'm happy for that one. So Laila, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I really enjoyed this. It was more like having a conversation with friends that enjoy F1. So really good.
Nice.
Thank you. I'm glad you enjoyed it and we'd love to have you back. And yeah, enjoy Silverstone. And obviously, if our predictions or your predictions come through with a certain DNF and podiums, you're definitely coming back. Okay. Because we're gonna have to talk about that one. But
I would love to
enjoy it and think of us because I don't know where we're gonna be watching it, but we will be. Well, I won't be at Silverstone. Anita's gonna try and get to Silverstone, and you will definitely be at Silverstone.
Well, if you girls make it, let me know. Would love to watch it with you and scream together at Lewis and Lando. So yeah.
And then you can mention to Lewis, hey, Lewis, I was on the podcast the other day with these 3 beautiful Black women talking F1, and they say, hey.
I will try. We're gonna see him, but it's not a lot of time that we get to spend. I think we have like half an hour or something like that. And
enough for me.
Topics to speak about they're already put on the table. I'm just hoping he gets to sign this.
Oh, your cast, I
would love to have like a little Lewis signature here. We'll make it cool for the next month.
You could be the good luck charm he needs.
Maybe.
Indeed, Laila. I'll let you go, but thank you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks, Laila.
Thanks so much.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.